Hello everybody, Kissy Bug here. Let's speak a little about the Mastermind's vlog today. Now, if people are still sheeple, this vlog is a clear indication that the Mastermind needs some help. Hell, even the girl needs help. They openly admit to being a toxic couple these days, but no one goes to see a shrink. Therefore, it's business as usual in their household. Recently, we have seen him say several times that he feels the girl pushes his buttons, which is evident, and most people refer to her as annoying. She does things to purposely piss him off. Why? Who knows? And then we see him at times trying not to respond to her, and of course, he has recently been treating her poorly, making excuses for his crappy behavior. But, all the same, his behavior towards her, his family, friends, even subs, is no excuse. Losing a parent is hard, I am sure, but just because you are upset does not give you the right to be cruel to anyone. If you recognize you have issues, then why haven't you sought professional help? Just because you have a rough day or things are not going the way you had hoped for does not give you the right to be abusive to anyone. Angry and abusive partners tend to be anxious by temperament. From the time they were young children, they had a consistent sense of dread that things will go badly and they will fail to cope. They tried to control their environment to avoid terrible feelings of failure and inadequacy. The strategy of trying to control others fails to satisfy them for the simple reason that the primary cause of their anxiety is within themselves, not their environment. It springs from one of two sources, a heavy dread of failure or fear of harm, isolation, and deprivation. Everyone in an abusive family loses some degree of dignity. At least half of the victims, abusers, and children in abusive families suffer from clinical anxiety and or depression. Most victims, abusers, and children lack genuine self-esteem. Emotional abuse is usually more psychologically damaging than physical abuse. Abuse tends to get worse without intervention from someone outside the family. I don't know why these people don't go see a shrink, but they really need to. Witnessing abuse makes a child 10 times more likely to become either an abuser or a victim of abuse. As adults, they are at an increased risk of alcoholism, criminality, mental health problems, and poverty. Well, we already know that the old man did use some drugs, was an alcoholic. He was abusive to his children and his wife. So maybe we are starting to kind of see that from his son, especially since his son really wanted his approval and looked up to him. So I'm not surprised the Mastermind's kind of acting out. Now, symptoms of children in abusive families include one or more of the following: depression, anxiety, school problems, aggressiveness, hyperactivity, low self-esteem, over-emotionality, which is like anger, excitability, or even frequently crying, which we see that sometimes with the Mastermind, or there's just no emotions at all. Witnessing a parent victimized is usually more psychologically damaging to children than injuries from direct child abuse. Seeing a parent abused is child abuse. Symptoms of victims and abusers often include one or more of the following: trouble sleeping, frequent periods of sadness and crying, continual worry, anxiety, and excessive anger. Obsessions, thoughts that you can't get out of your mind, confusion, or impaired decision-making. Anyway, maybe the Mastermind is grieving not because of the quote-unquote love he had for his father, but rather the fact that he grew up in a tumultuous household. He may feel he was cheated out of a healthy home environment with love and stability instead of the chaos and abuse, which could be why he feels very angry at everything right now. A later crisis or loss in adult life may unmask an underlying vulnerability that has been lurking beneath the apparent normal surface of his life for years, which makes sense because even though he formed some sort of relationship with the old man, he was still fearful of him. The old man had put him down constantly, and like most abuse adult survivors, he only wanted to be loved and accepted. That's his vulnerability. Losing his dad unmasked those feelings. He doesn't know what to do now because the abuser is gone and he's not close to the mom. A vague sorrow follows adult survivors who have not come to grips with the reality of their childhood abuse, the dark and heavy feelings that has been with them all their life. The sorrows of an adult survivor of emotional child abuse are these. 1. The loss of a childhood that never was. 2. The loss of what childhood should have been. 3. The loss of the people who never were. 4. The loss of the present. 5. The loss of the future. 6. The losses felt by their younger selves. So how can the mastermind deal with all that? Simple solution? Go to therapy. He could also read about emotional child abuse and how to heal from it. Grief experts say people affected by the death of a less than loved one often have much more unfinished emotional business, and that business starts with forgiveness of a sort. Forgiveness isn't about saying it's okay or that you accept or approve what happened. Forgiveness is the acknowledgement that what happened, happened, and that you are now ready to set down the baggage, the pain, and the fear. He doesn't speak ill of his father because it could be construed as speaking ill of the dead. But come on, if you could just imagine how all the kids felt, the mother even, it would be good to talk about it, but they won't. He probably feels like he would do his dad wrong since they made millions off of abuse and the BS in their family. The fans and subs would come unhinged because they soak up all this dysfunction without a raised eyebrow. But on the merch front, he may feel his father owes him something for a lifetime of abuse, so he battles with his feelings internally. Death has a way of triggering deep-seated, long-forgotten memories that your brain retains. I'm not talking about what kind of toy your sister or brother took from you when you were a kid, or what kind of slight you might have suffered at the hands of a family member or a friend. This is about the tangible pain and recall of horrific events you experienced as a victim of abuse or abandonment. Every day, someone who is an abuser will pass away, but their victims don't talk about what they suffered and what this death means to them. But I feel like we should talk about it. Because what if one day, if you were a survivor of child abuse or any kind of other type of abuse, if someone rings to tell you that your abuser has died, you can definitely find yourself back in a moment as if it was happening all over again. If you were the child who was abandoned, the wife who was abused, or the victim who might have been raped. Death can trigger this. And how do you cope in those first few moments, days, weeks, months? Now, I'm not going out of my way to make excuses for this man, but I'm imploring you to look a little deeper because he has unresolved issues himself. And his behavior lately is showing that even he has some mental issues. The girl needs to knock her crap off too. One day because she's playing the victim, then the next day she's stirring the pot and being abusive as well. Although she was like 14 or 15 when they got together, correct? Possible learned behavior from all the years she's been with the mastermind and around the old man, perhaps? I think the mastermind is really conflicted about his father's past, and maybe on some level he thought he would be relieved, but he's not. I think he's mourning the father he never had, while still trying to make peace with the one that he did have, if that makes sense. So, while it's no excuse for the way he treats people, such as his girlfriend or his fans, he has some issues he needs to work on too. He has a food addiction. He has anger issues. If he gets mad at his girlfriend for not handing him a pot while he's making dinner, and that's the reason why he's going around destroying her house, it sounds a lot like the old man. And again, it's learned behavior for this young guy because that's what he saw his father do. But he can make the choice. Does he want to be like the old man? Or would he rather be a better version of his father, such as showing kindness and love and respect? Because you can make that choice. You can either just be the same abuser that you grew up with, or you could break the cycle. Another thing that annoys me with the mastermind is this constant, they break up, but they never take a break. perhaps that's something they should do. And if he does own that house, why doesn't she go stay with the mom or her dad or friend or somebody and let him stay in his house? And the scary thing is for me to think that these two want to have kids and one day get married. If you can't handle a crisis like this where you lose somebody you love and you start taking abuse out on other people, you have no business bringing children into a world that is going to grow up in this kind of environment. That's just not fair to the child. Now, I understand they've been together for quite some time. They all need some therapy. I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it. I do agree with the fans and the subs who are angry because, for crying out loud, stop exploiting people. Just stop. Your father passed. We all get that. I'm sorry for that. I'm sure other people are sorry for that, but that is no excuse for you to sit there and milk him for money. But again, I kind of feel like that might go into this whole, he feels like the dad at least owes him that because of the fact that he had such a crappy childhood. It could be that. I don't know. I'm not him. I'm just thinking that's my opinion. And the sad thing is, calling up his sister to come pick him up, just don't. I mean, it's his house. Go home to your own family. Let this man be. And yes, I understand the girl is annoying. She gets on my nerves. I'm not going to say that she doesn't bug me as well. But again, I only watch what I feel is pertinent to talk about for educational purposes and to support people and to bring awareness, not because I'm a fan. I have never, ever been a fan of abuse. Having been a victim and a survivor, no thank you. That's not my thing. But this girl, yes, he does inflict some emotional BS on her, but then she also does it back. So it's just really, they are being honest when they feel like it's a toxic relationship, because that is. That's not how you treat someone you love. So there's my opinion on that, and I'm just tired of it. I mean, I understand how the fans feel about the clickbait and being lied to, and that they don't want to watch this kind of stuff. They don't want to see people being exploited. Hallelujah for the people who are waking up and seeing that he is becoming abusive. And he made money off of his father being an abusive ass. And he's starting to act just like him. So the exploiting, the abuse, all of it just needs to go away. And I really wish that YouTube would evaluate some of these channels, especially when you have people constantly speaking out about the things that they don't like on some of these channels, about how they even speak about how they feel on these channels personally in the comment section or on Twitter or Facebook or whoever these channel creators might be. So that's my opinion on everything today. I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of insight, a little bit of research I was doing. Let me know what you guys think. And I would love to see your feedback and your opinions. Maybe I'm not the only one who's seeing some of this for what it could be. Anyways, guys, I love you all lots. I'm going to go ahead and go now. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.